And we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance first. First roll call.
Commissioner Emerson? Here. Commissioner Kershner? Here. Commissioner Smull?
Present.
Commissioner Van Wagner?
Here.
Chair Schlelein?
Here.
Thank you, and let the record show Youth Commissioner Alioto, Commissioner Momsen, and Vice Chair Knudsen are absent.
Thank you. Next is approval of agenda. Are there any changes from the commission? Moving on. Comments from the public.
I'm sorry, we would need a motion
Okay.
and a second for that.
We need a motion not to change the agenda, to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
We'll do a roll call.
Okay, thanks.
Commissioner Emerson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kershner?
Yes.
Commissioner Smull?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Wagner?
Yes.
Chair Schlelein?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
Thanks for keeping us in line. Comments from the public at this time. And there's no one in the audience, so I think we'll move on. And we have a presentation section, but we don't have any presentations, so we will skip over that. We also have a consent calendar, which we also don't have any items on, so that's going to be pretty fast. And then the regular calendar 4.0. 4.1 is a presentation on the City of Sonoma General Plan Update from Community Development Jennifer Gates, and along with Sarah Tracy.
Thank you so much, Commissioners. It is my pleasure to introduce you, if you haven't had a chance to meet her already, Jennifer Gates, AICP. She is the city's Community Development Director. She oversees the Planning, Building, and Community Services departments, which were merged in the city last year, a year ago, almost exactly. June 2023, we merged all of those into one department, the Community Development Department. She is going to give you an overview of the general plan update, which the city is currently in the process of undertaking. It's a large document, and it is a visionary document that will guide Sonoma's development over the next 20 to 30 years. So that's quite an expansive time, and we're very fortunate to have her, and thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you, Sarah. So again, I'm Jennifer Gates, Community Development Director here at the city. So we just simplify it's planning, building, and climate action and code enforcement. That's kind of all under my purview. So if you have questions about any of those things, let me know. But tonight we're going to talk about the general plan update, and I am going to just briefly also bring in and make sure that you guys understand your role in this as well, and the arts. So if I miss something, or if there's something you want to talk about, just let me know. There's only 15 slides, so just wanted to give you an update today, kind of provide you with what the next steps are, and then allow some time for questions and comments. So why are we doing this? This is the document that sets our community vision. How do we want to grow for the next 20 years here in the city of Sonoma? Kind of sets our expectations or our goals. It's our policy document, basically. So whenever I explain this, I think of, here's the big document that sets our vision, how we want to move forward, here's our goals, and then here's the implementation measures. The implementation measures are smaller components. An example of this is the only reference that I actually see to your commission in our general plan today is to do an arts plan and to actually update the public art ordinance. So it's the only reference that I saw, but that's where, you know, understanding the arts and the role of the arts in our community can come about in different policy measures. And that helps guide you guys as well. to move forward on your activities and what you're looking to do. City Council is the ultimate decision maker, and so they're the ones that are going to provide that direction at the end of the day to us. We're also looking at preservation of our open space and agriculture here, and then innovation, sustainability, and always a vibrant economy. Our city is reliant on our economy with our TOT taxes as well as our sales tax. So we didn't know that. That is the case. The general plan is comprehensive in scope. It's going to look at land use itself. So where are the different uses? Where are they located on a map? And what are the specifications or the development potential for those areas? Our zoning code is actually going to identify the specifics as far as the development standards, but again, the general plan sets for that policy of how we want to grow. And so our actual zoning code is going to get into the minutia detail of what that actually looks like. We're also going to look at infrastructure planning. So where are our roads, our water, sewer? How do we support these new developments or existing developments into the future? Also public services in the same sense. As you can see here, we're talking about cultural activities, but cultural activities could also play a role in land use as well. Resource conservation, also looking at our air, our habitats, our waterways. We have creeks here that actually flow into major water sources, so they have actual large setbacks from them for development and things like that we look at. We do have flooding here. So just looking at those different aspects. And I'm dual masters actually in city planning and historic preservation, so historic resources are also one of those. Our last comprehensive update was in 2006. We did do a circulation element update in 2017, and we did our housing element last year, as many of you probably were aware of. There have been numerous changes to state law since 2006, and the state law pretty much tells us, here's the things that we need to make sure that you're looking at in your general plan. You can do other things, but these are the things that you need to make sure that you are doing. And so climate change, we need to look at that. Environmental justice is an item that is required in certain communities that have what's called a disadvantaged community. City of Sonoma does not. But environmental justice and equity are some of the discussions that have been happening at City Council and will probably be incorporated throughout the document or have its own section. Complete Streets is a state law in the circulation element, which is part of the reason why we updated in 2017. And then flood and fire protection, we have to update our safety element every time we update our housing element. And that's just to make sure that we are having the right rules in place. And our safety element also has to reflect our hazard mitigation plan that we do with the county. Otherwise, we do not qualify for FEMA and state reimbursements. Also, general plan content has required elements. So again, the state law actually tells us what has to be in there and what needs to go in each one of these elements. They don't always have this specific name. So land use element for us is called community development in our existing general plan. We also have circulation, conservation, open space, safety, noise, and housing. These sometimes are combined into one element, or you will see them separately. It usually states on the cover of those individual element sections what it's covering. Optional elements are economic development, which we do have in our current general plan. We do talk about economic development. And then also sustainability and climate change, historic and archaeological resources, parks and recreation, and environmental justice that we talked about earlier. And then administration and implementation. Some of these elements, based on community input, will either have their own element or will be incorporated through policies or goals within our required elements, just based on the breadth of information or also goals that the city develops. So right now, we have finished our existing conditions report and we have identified our community priorities through the community engagement process. So there is an existing conditions report online, what I'm going to talk about on the next slide. And then we also did a community engagement summary, which is also available online, and I will go over some of that as well. So we are in land use map refinement, so this is on our next steps that we're doing. So for individuals that followed the city council meeting last week, we had a meeting at 5 o'clock to begin that discussion, and we will continue that discussion on June 25th, which was just released today, that we will have another meeting at 6 o'clock on the 25th. So our existing conditions report just provides an overview of our physical, environmental, economic, and demographic setting as of October 2023. When I say as of October 2023, it's a date and time in which studies have already been completed. Those studies may not actually reflect October of 2023, but they're what we actually have today, and that's what we're using to set our baseline, because that's what our knowledge and our information is. Again, it sets our baseline conditions to help guide our development in the general plan update. And it's going to be a separate companion document. It is 600 pages, so if you haven't looked at it, it is separated into the different sections. So if there's certain sections that are of more interest to you, feel free to look at them. Also, it sets our environmental baseline for general plan EIR. So when we do a general plan, when we set these goals and we do some land use changes, if they affect the environment, that's what the environmental impact report is going to be looking at. Is how do we affect the environment moving forward? This also helps us with when we do our zoning code change, we utilize that EIR from the general plan to do those zoning code changes. And then if a development meets all those, then they can what's called tier off that environmental impact report and just do site-specific environmental review. So we did do, to make sure I didn't miss one, yes, okay. Community engagement. Throughout this process, there will be more. So we will have Planning Commission City Council study sessions. We will have more than 4 because we'll have 3 by the next meeting. So we will have more than 4. This is how much we've budgeted for. We will also be having, we had community visioning workshops in November of last year. And then we've also did stakeholder interviews with different agencies that either plan for or we interact with on a regular basis, like the chamber and the community center. We also, in the future, will be having community open house workshops to look at the general plan with the community some more when we get into the specifics. And then, as always, there will be public hearings. The public hearing process requires Planning Commission to make a recommendation and City Council to make the approval. We also have a general plan update task force that was created by City Council, and we have been active since December, I want to say, or January. And we meet when we have things to go over and talk about. So we'll be meeting again in July, at the end of July, to discuss what the comments are from Planning Commission and City Council at this next meeting. There's also staff participated in at the farmers market, and then also coordinated with different organizations and businesses to present to their boards or their groups at their meetings. So here's the list of activities that we have done to date as far as community engagement. This is not inclusive of the joint meetings. This is more of our visioning and outreach activities. So the outreach summary report that is available online details the summary of our efforts and the feedback that we received. It does summarize it in the beginning, so it looks like it's going to be a long document, but I think we separated it, didn't we? Yeah, so the summary is the first part, and then there'll be a separate document that you'll see on there that provide the raw feedback results. So this will also include individuals that provided handwritten notes after the visioning workshops or turned in things later. and includes their feedback. So the common themes that we heard from the outreach summary were the challenges related to housing affordability, how to attract and retain a diverse array of businesses and jobs, the importance of maintaining our safe community, improving our walkability and bikeability, and then the emphasis on social equity and environmental stewardship. This isn't everything that we heard. This is just, again, summary. There are other topics that were provided, and I would say that it was a broad range of topics. And again, all these are related to how an individual experiences Sonoma, and how they want it to see it grow into the future as well. The digital engagement, there is a dedicated website. It was on the agenda. And so that is available for you all. It's going to have all the information as far as the meetings that are coming up. It has our documents and maps, how to get involved. It's got an FAQ about what a general plan is. We did do an online survey that did close. That information is available as part of one of the documents on that community engagement. And then we will do newsletters kind of updating on the process. So the next steps is the Joint Planning Commission and City Council. Again, we started that last week and did the overview of the existing conditions and community engagement and started the land use map direction. So we'll pick back up on June 25th with that topics and continue that discussion and not back up into a real City Council meeting. So there'll be more time for discussion. We will then take that information and begin working on land use refinements. In between that and the returning to the Planning Commission and City Council, we'll work with the General Plan Task Force on refining what we heard from the Planning Commission and City Council and what us as the project team are working on, which was the whole concept of why we were having a task force created by the City Council. We will return to the Planning Commission and City Council with that land use map for their review and discussion. And then after their, I would say, blessing in a way to move forward, that we will go to public review and the workshops to gather any additional input and feedback on that land use map. Of course, during task force meetings, they are Brown Act meetings, so they are open to the public, as well as the Planning Commission and City Council meetings are always open to the public as well. So there's always opportunities to provide input at that time. And there's also opportunities to provide input by just emailing me. So from that, after we get direction on how the land use map is going to look, we take that land use map, begin working on the general plan elements themselves from that information and from the information that we gather during community engagement. This also gives us the start for the environmental impact report in the sense of starting to run all the studies that we need to do based on land use changes. So if you look, has anybody ever looked at the existing general plan? You can say no, it's totally fine. I don't think many people have. It's only 80 pages, so it's a lot less than the existing conditions report. This next one will be more robust. Not necessarily more robust with a bunch of just data or anything like that, but just some more background and discussion. And potentially more elements. The other aspect of the existing one that you'll notice, which will be similar to how we would move forward with our next general plan, is there is a section in the land use where it actually identifies what the land use changes were. And so when we did the land use update the last time, it specifically said this is what the existing land use is, this is what's being proposed, and this is what that change means. And so expect to see a similar table in the future as well for specific sites that may be changed and how they would be changed as well. And with that, if you have any questions or comments.
Well, I have a few, but how have the arts been addressed in the community engagement portion of the process so far? It sounds like you're aware that we will need an arts plan. Is there anything else?
So this is what I've been recommending to other interest groups and commissions. Go look at other cities. So I worked in Laguna Beach. So if you know Laguna Beach, that is an arts town. We live and breathe arts. When I worked there, you couldn't open a business without saying that what you were actually selling was unique. Like no tchotchkes allowed. That's how I worded it. But it was very specific, and there was very clear guidance in the general plan around arts, including more. I'm not saying that this is suggested in the sense like you should do it. I'm just saying as an example, the general plan can set guidance in the sense of your policy direction. Do we want to, as a city, collect a 1% fee on development of a certain size and type? I know right now we do it on public projects. Laguna did it on commercial development of $250,000 or more. That's a policy decision that then gets implemented through code, but it needs a policy direction to then give it guidance. So these are different things that you can do. So I always say, look at arts communities, since you guys are the arts. I would say look at communities that you like their arts programs. See what's in their general plans. See what policies that they have and where they put it. And be ready to provide more input around what goes into those general plan element in the future. There are lots of different communities with lots of different interests and focus. And so how do we build on that? Like I said, in the existing one, there's one goal associated with the arts. There's opportunities for others. There's, again, I would say the city hasn't said too much about it in the sense of the community at large. And, having you all start the conversation and getting people involved that that are in the arts and have an interest in the arts. I know that, is it the chamber and the vintners that are doing in the community center that are doing the art walk? And so different things like that. That's, those are activities that promote the arts. Are there other ones in there? That art plan will identify more of those specific activities, but there's also opportunities in the general plan for discussion around that.
Other questions, commissioners?
That's fine.
Not
Ask
related
away.
to the arts, so I don't know if that matters. I can
It's fine.
come. Are you sure?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Can you tell me more about the general plan update task force? Like who is on that?
Oh, you're going to tap my brain. There are currently 6 members. One recently had to drop off, but they represent 5 and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, I'm counting. 4 individuals or 5 that are within the city boundaries, and then 2 or 1 that's outside of the city boundary in the valley. And they represent just different interests. We have Gerardo Guzman, we have Amy Gallagher from the chamber, we have, Sharon from La Luz. She's no longer with La Luz, but she was. We have Kelso Barnett on it. We have an individual that just recently moved here with his family that's in the business industry wanting to get involved. So it's a broad range of individuals. Thank you. She pulled up my agenda. So Kelso Barnett, Amy Mesa Gallagher, Gerardo Guzman, Steve Peace, Sharon Samoji, and John Wheeler. And those meetings are not on a regular set schedule, so they're just basically released that we're having a meeting. And then it's always on the Civic Web.
Last question, just to follow up. Are there open positions for more people to be on that task force? I'm just thinking if someone who represents the arts in the community could be involved.
I need to follow up with the city manager and the mayor on the actual identification of the person to fill the spot that went vacant. There was a pre-approved list, and so it would be somebody off that list first, and if none of those individuals, they may open it back up.
I have a question about timing. June 25th is a specific theme for that meeting, from what I heard from you, land use. And what is, if we were to become a little bit more active here and in trying to impact this, what's our timeline like?
So the land use component, we probably have a few months that we're probably going to be focusing on it the next few months. So I don't foresee us going back to Planning Commission City Council with a draft land use map until probably September, maybe October. And so then we would start the general plan probably in October. So October is when we're really going to start getting into more of the details of what's going into the general plan itself and the text part.
So if we were to try to impact that in a positive way, then perhaps casually convening and talking with people about their needs would be a good place, and they would come to city council or general planning meetings.
Yeah, so so when I think you guys are working on an arts plan.
Arts policy.
Oh, arts policy. Okay, so not a plan. So some of that information that's in that arts policy may feed into a general plan. I'm not sure. I haven't seen what level of detail it is. That's why I was suggesting you can look at some of these other cities and their general plans. Maybe not specifically their arts plan, but their general plan that feeds into that. And providing any kind of comments. I think next meeting you said was September. So that would be a good time for you guys to, when you reconvene, you can have this again on your agenda and have a discussion about, as a commission, kind of where you want to provide some more feedback around the arts to then blend, take that information, then I could put that with our team and put that into the document itself. So each commission does have a role to play. You don't have a role as far as a legal requirement to make recommendation, but as an appointed body by the city council, I think every commission thoughts and feedback is important.
Thank you. We have a public art policy update at the end. I don't know if you're staying for that, but I think a couple of us have some things to say, so this is very helpful for us. Okay. We appreciate that. Commissioner, other questions? Thank you for your presentation.
No problem. I will say that I cannot stay, but I have to go let my dogs out because I haven't been home since noon. But thank you very much. And again, you can always reach me at the city if you have any questions about the process or anything in regards to what's going on. Feel free to reach out, and I will connect with Sarah later on about the policy and what you guys are looking at.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next item up is 4.2, and it's review of Treasure Artist Program and the 2025 timeline by Sarah Tracy, Senior Management Analyst.
Thank you so much. So this is an annual process that the commission goes through, is typically reviewing in general the Treasure Artist process and program that you all perform each year. And I wanted to include the 2025 timeline in terms of when we'll be announcing, accepting nominations, and when the commission can expect to make the nomination for next year. We're already talking about that halfway through the year here. So just a little summary. Since its inception in 1983, the Sonoma Treasure Artist of the Year Award has celebrated exceptional achievements across various artistic mediums. The criteria for the award has evolved over time, reflecting ongoing discussions about the artist's recognition and their contributions to the community, as I've been reading about. In 2019, the Commission determined that nominees must be established artists located within the Sonoma Valley who demonstrate creative contributions to our community. Traditionally, the nomination process begins in early October, with the selection occurring in November. This report aims to review the program and establish a timeline for the 2025 selection process. Additionally, it provides an opportunity for the Commission to discuss potential updates to the selection process as was requested by a Commissioner. So the current selection process, as you are all probably familiar, is we do a solicitation for nominations. The city staff issues a call for nominations via press release and personal outreach from the to the community. Nominations are then collected by the city staff until the submission deadline. Then the review of nominations, the nomination letters are included in a meeting agenda that you all receive. The commissioners, review the nominations as you prepare for the meeting, and then at the meeting you have discussed the nominees and someone makes a motion for a particular nominee, and if it is supported, that person is then becomes the treasure artist. Last year, we created an online submission form. Formerly, it was all by letter, formal written letter. And the intent behind that was to make the process more accessible and easier for the community to make nominations. This form is available on the city's website during the nomination period, and the long URL is there for you. But during the time of its activation, it is more prominent on the homepage of our website as well. Of course, the city continues to welcome mailed or emailed nominations. It's not a problem. We accept them in all ways, but the form was particularly helpful in receiving those and organizing them. So I look forward to receiving more in that format. The timeline for the 2025 selection process, I intend to put out a call for nominations the day after our next meeting on September 13th, 2024, with a nomination deadline of October 29th, 2024. And then the review and selection would be scheduled for the November 19th meeting, which would be your last meeting of the year, which is traditionally when you all have made that selection. So today I'm asking you, opening it up for discussion about the program, any feedback that you'd like staff to take into consideration with outreach, and then also opens it up for any questions about the selection process, and also asking you to approve the proposed timeline for the 2025 Treasure Artist of the Year selection process.
So any feedback, commissioners, or thoughts? What went well? What we could improve on?
So that is about 1 month that it would be open, is that correct?
It's a little over 1 month, so about 5-6 weeks.
Thank you.
Well, I think we're always looking to find ways to engage and get more submissions. I'm curious if we have any slight excess in budget at some point, if we want to put some money behind digital marketing, running ads, that kind of stuff, or just some horsepower behind just the normal organic promotion of the contest. You know, $100, $200 goes a long way when you're buying eyeballs.
Thank you. Other thoughts? How many, do you remember how many we had submitted?
I'm sorry, I don't. I just realized I neglected to look that up, but I can find out really quickly.
Can't really remember at this point. 8 to 10. And a variety of disciplines, arts disciplines, which was nice. And I thought our process was much smoother. The online submission really helped, and even though we also allowed the other, which is, I think, important for different people.
Yeah, agreed. I think especially with the variety of folks, different media, different mediums of art and just having that all being able to be collected and visible and reviewable online was a huge help. Probably a lot less of a headache behind the scenes as well. I remember we used to go to City Hall and lock yourself in the room and flip through the book. So yeah, that was I like the digital thing for sure.
Sarah, could you remind us of what the budget is for this?
I do not believe I've had a budget for the promotion of to solicit nominations in the past. As the public information officer for the city, I do retain a small budget for the entire year to do online marketing. So I typically do distribute that among all of the city's efforts. So certainly when we were looking for like student creative artists, for example, and I'm talking very small, $25 and under typically to run social media ads, and also try to tap our local.
I did see, by the way, those things look great.
Good.
But for the event itself,
For the
I
event,
believe we have a budget.
Apologies. Yes, the event I believe is $2,500. Thank you. Sorry, I misunderstood that question.
We also opened it up to the public this year for the first time, which was a pretty different policy for us. I don't think in the history, I don't know the total history, but in the recent history, it's always been paid for by and a small group of people. This time was super well attended and was in a more public space. And we probably ought to talk about, that precedent.
And I believe it's always been open to the public. Anyone could purchase tickets, but this was the first year since I've been on the commission that we allowed it to be free of charge. So.
That's my understanding as well, and I understand a little bit from the history of that the reception used to be a more sit-down luncheon. So it was a bit of a different format. So that hence the need to recover some costs because it was a more expensive event with like more of a meal. So it was a different type of event. And then as it moved to more of kind of a wine and hors d'oeuvres and that sort of format, then the pricing structure changed a little bit, the pricing structure stayed with it. Even though it was no longer the sit down. And so this year there was a suggestion by the ad hoc committee to look to see if we could make that free to the public. And I learned that like our alcalde reception, which is a similar format, does not charge. And so we were able to then make the case that the treasure artist, as long as we stayed within our budget, because I think also in the past, sometimes the receptions have been more elaborate and have cost more money than the $2,500, and so it necessitated the raising of funds. Now that can also come in the form of sponsorships, if that was something that was asked this last year. That is potential, if that is the wish of the commission. And just a side note, there were 11 nominees, but 21 nominations last year, so those were divided among those in various ways.
Thank you. Also, we had talked about at some point presenting something to the treasure artist that would be handed off, much like the alcalde. That was a suggestion that was given where it's a token, a trophy. What is it at the alcalde?
So the alcalde has a cane. As was traditional to kind of, apparently the idea being that they would walk around town and everybody would know they were the alcalde because they had a special cane. But now it's ceremonial, and it's passed down from one alcalde to the next. I don't know that they always bring it to all the events, but I should encourage them to do so.
This came up from past treasure artists who had suggested this as a fun idea, because it could be rather artful and is just something that one treasure artist could hand, the current one could hand to the next one. I think they would like to participate a bit more. there were a number of them in the audience, and in fact, they've been in sort of a casual formation of a little bit of a task force that are very interested in the treasure artist tradition continuing, and maybe even bumping it up a bit. Any other thoughts?
I had a quick question. I think I know the answer to this, but I just want to make sure. Any of the outreach materials that go, like the call for nominations, the information on the website, the application, are those all available in Spanish as well?
So our website has an automatic translation function, which is what we rely on for that mostly. But we do have a practice of putting materials in dual language when we have printed items, and oftentimes when we do social media campaigns and things, it is hard because it creates a much longer description, but we typically do also have our translator who we use for mostly emergency translation purposes. We do have them do that for that process.
And is it correct? I think we reach out to some of the Spanish-speaking organizations.
All, I would say all, but I'm sure there's one I'm missing, but we have a rather robust list of community partner groups, and I do always promote it through my other channels shamelessly, even at meetings that have nothing to do with the arts, to encourage people to share among their communities. So that's definitely on my list, but could certainly, I always could use more attention, no question.
Well, and I think the translation at the event was pretty wonderful. We got a little into the weeds when it got a little long when some of the speakers wanted to do it in both languages. So that definitely lengthened the speeches, whereas the ones that just relied on the headphones, and Claudia Mendoza was amazing at translating. So that was really helpful for the audience at that time. So I appreciated you taking care of that and making sure that happened.
Well, I can't take credit for it, but Claudia Cruz Mendoza is the city's, when we have our contracted translator. So she was one who suggested the simultaneous translation, which is where she owns headsets, and then the district also had headsets. So folks who would like translation wear the headset, and she speaks into a microphone and simultaneously translates as speakers are speaking. And then, as you noted, as she had noted, that's really the recommended practice now. It was something that came out of our budget. We did pay her to do that, which was the first time since I've been with the city that we've had a simultaneously translated event, maybe even translated fully through the whole program, which was something to be proud of, and now that we've done it, really gave us a good model for that.
So if we did a trophy or some kind of token, would that require a motion from this commission?
I don't know.
You would need a motion to approve the timeline. However, I think providing direction to staff is sufficient at this time in terms of the item.
So at this point, we need to approve the timeline. And I think we're asking for a motion.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second that.
Roll call?
Commissioner Emerson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kershner?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Wagner?
Yes.
Commissioner Smull?
Yes.
Chair Schlelein?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Next item is 4.
Can I ask a quick question
Oh.
before we move on?
Sure.
Regarding the treasure artist, what are the activities that we have planned to give the current treasure artist visibility? I mean, other than the 4th of July parade, I mean, have we thought about that? I mean, are they really getting much exposure? And maybe you might want to think about increasing the
They
exposure?
are invited to all of the city functions, where we also invite our alcalde and other kind of honorees or city council. We do invite them to those functions. So, for example, we had a press conference last week. They were everybody was invited to attend that. If they had come, they would have sat and been recognized at that point. They're invited to the city party. They're invited to all of the kind of city main functions there as well. It's the same as the all-call day, things that all-call days are involved in for the year.
Yes, Commissioner.
Are we going to talk a little bit about the parade participation and how that could change, I think, significantly
That's the
this
next
year?
item.
Okay.
Yes. So I think that Commissioner Van Wagner has an interesting point that there are many opportunities, and we have pretty much looked at just a couple of them. The parade and also the reception, but there are other ways that we could recognize these people, and perhaps
Sure,
we
yeah.
need to be thinking about that.
Like the one that immediately comes to mind, like the Tuesday market. Maybe present the treasured artist for the opening ceremony that they have, the first one of the year. Or throw in the first pitch at the baseball game. Just do little things that, not necessarily things that are attached to formal city events, council events or whatever, but more, maybe even more informal.
So one of the things that has been discussed informally with past treasure artists is that they might become more actively involved in those sorts of ways of helping. They are and willing and able to step up the public art presence here, and would be happy to serve on a committee if we decided to form one, for how we could do more advocacy for the treasure artist and public art. So I thought that was a nice offer, and might be something to consider, because we have this resource. Many of them are still very active in the community, doing a lot of public service in the arts, and would like to be more involved.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to head something like that up, Commissioner Van Wagner?
I could, for sure, because I don't know how many people in town actually even know about the treasure artist. And it is kind of a unique award that we give out every year, and maybe we need to get it more visibility and just, as you said, advocacy, or just get it out there, and have that person also contribute to the growth and development of arts in the community. I think it all would feed on itself. Yeah.
Does anyone want to join that committee that he's just about to head up, that I pressured him into?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd be glad to help you with
Okay.
that,
Okay.
since I've been talking to them too. I think
Yeah, I just know a couple of them.
I think our current
Yeah.
treasure artist is swamped right now with activities. He is his recent show last week was amazing at El Verano Elementary of the summer the start of the summer show, and he's performing everywhere, his troupe. So he's working us in, but I know that the past treasure artists are very interested in helping out, and I think we could leverage this a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So we have 2 commissioners on the committee to increase the visibility of the treasure artist.
For the treasure artist ad hoc committee, for the both of you, we would need a motion to
Okay.
approve that.
Okay. Someone not on the committee, would you do that?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Emerson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kershner,
Yes.
Commissioner Van Wagner,
Yes.
Commissioner Smull,
Yes.
Chair Schlelein?
Yes,
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
thank you. Next up, Sarah Tracy's back with us. 4.3, discussion and planning for Cultural and Fine Arts Commission participation in the 4th of July parade.
Here I am again. Yes, so you could probably read it there, although I don't know that it's been brought to the commission in a while to kind of just review the historical participation of the commission and the treasure artist in the 4th of July parade. And as timing has worked out perfectly, I thought this would be a good time to do that and also be able to give the group an update at the same time. So I do have some even more updated information than is in the staff report. So the City of Sonoma Culture and Fine Arts Commission traditionally participates in the 4th of July parade. The commission generally walks ahead of the treasure artist and often student creative artists, though sometimes that has not happened. The student creative artist hasn't always participated, holding a banner. The treasure artist and sometimes student creative artist have the opportunity to ride in a convertible with their family. The parade order typically follows the city council and alcalde. So the city float is a series of vehicles with all of the people who are to be recognized. So our city council usually goes first. They typically ride in a antique, I guess would be the right word, a fire truck, and then is followed by the alcalde, the treasure artist, and student creative artist. This year, staff reached out to the 2024 treasure artist for the parade, and this year, because Victor Farrar does have a dance troupe, we suggested that he could, if he were so interested and his dancers were interested, that they could also participate with dancers as part of the parade. I had not heard in time to print this agenda, as we need to do 72 hours ahead of a meeting, but he did let me know that he is interested. He and his family will be riding in the parade, and while they have just so much going on, they can't do it the full scale like they have for many of their productions. Their summer season is very full, but there will be dancers accompanying him. He has also made the request that he has a partnership with the Luz Center, who will also be in the parade, and has made the request that they follow him directly, and they will be having music and some festivities behind, so it will probably bleed into each other, or blend. Bleed's not the right word I wanted. So the dancers, I believe, will also kind of feed off of the music the Luz Center has, so I think that'll be a really fun addition this year. Unfortunately, our student creative artists will not be able to participate this year. But today, I wanted to give you an update about the fact that the 4th of July parade is happening. We do have a treasure artist who will be riding in the parade, and so we also welcome you, as we have in the past, to march ahead of him with the banner if you are available and desire to do so. So I have this item on the agenda to gauge interest in commissioners in participating in the parade, and obviously to give you the information about the float, which I have just done. So I also just have the details for participation, which I will send you all in email form as well. Details about where you meet and what time and lining up and all of those things, because we are first. We don't queue up at the Veterans Building like the rest of the parade. We actually do it near the barracks on 1st Street East.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Just that I plan to be walking in the parade with you guys again.
Can all of you come?
Yes.
I will do my best. I've got my in-laws in town, but yes, they would.
They can
love-
cheer you on.
Yes, that's the thing. They would love to see that more than anything. But
Right.
yes,
I did it last year, but this year I'm committed to, I'm in the parade with the Sonoma Jazz Society, so I won't be able to sneak away, because I'll be performing, yeah, but yeah, I think it's a great opportunity to get exposure for Victor, for sure. Yeah.
In the past, we also handed out to children a few things that were art-related, and it was hard to have enough. By the end, we ran out of many things. But it sure is fun to be able to promote something along that line. I don't know if we could do that again or if we have a budget for anything like that. But there's enough time yet we'd handed out crayons or sketchbooks or different items like that. So I don't know, in terms of music, there probably isn't. It would need to be something, I would think, useful, not ecologically polluting of any way, but also that kids would enjoy. But I don't know. Would any thoughts on doing that?
Do we have any budget?
I'm not aware of one, but I didn't think to ask because I wasn't aware of the handouts last year. So that is something I can follow up with the commission about.
Thank you.
I've always just bought candy, and I'm happy to do that again.
Right.
We can get little graphite pencils made with the commission's name on it. Those are really inexpensive. I used to make them for the winery.
Oh, you want to look into that, Ryan?
Yeah, I can price it out if we don't end up having, any, I'll do that.
Okay.
How, as we aren't meeting again, how do we want to get that information to, and we'll
You
just-
can send information to me and I can make sure it is
Yeah,
legally
I'll
distributed.
Okay, and, yeah,
We could approach our local art store. Fine Line is always very generous with art supplies, but there are so many kids that it really does become a little overwhelming at this point. So coming up with like one item like that would be way cool.
check it out. I think that'd be kind of fun.
It'd be simple,
Yeah, just something
but
simple.
quality.
Yeah, you can get the eco-friendly ones that they don't have like any plastic on them. They're, recyclable infinitely. And I'll look into it. I'll check it out. See if we can do it on the cheap.
Well, thanks. Anything else we need to think about, or sounds like it's going to be fun? Hopefully not too hot. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And to clarify, I'll be there.
Oh, good. Thank you. So that'll help with pencil delivery if we need that. Then 5.1, Commission ad hoc reports. I'm not quite sure who's on the utility box wrap project. Oh, good. Okay. So Commissioner Emerson or Van Wagner want to report?
Well, I guess at this point, we're waiting to finalize the definition of the budget. We have a proposal from Fast Signs to create the wraps. We've decided on reaching out to artists that are residents of the valley, and what else have we've decided? Oh, and what the theme should be, which is also governed by Caltrans to a certain extent. So I believe that we're ready to have a campaign and do the outreach in August, I think is what we had discussed, wasn't it, Deb?
Yeah, I think we wanted
Meredith?
to make sure that the council was okay with us going out before our next meeting to a solicitation so that we could start to get artist interest before we meet, so that by the next meeting we can kind of maybe select the artists that we would use.
Was Commissioner Knudsen in this group?
Yes. Yeah.
I've had discussions with her as we're doing the public art policy, and I don't want to speak for her, but as we were doing the process of working on this public art policy, and I'll fill you in on what we're doing along that line, we had talked about pausing that until we really got this part done. So I know that she felt like we needed to do the public art policy before we started to decide how to finish that project. But
How much longer do you think it'll be before the policy be
we were waiting for
completed?
the budget to be done for the city because our staff member has been extremely busy.
So the intent is to have it in September for you to consider.
So our next meeting is
September
September.
12th.
I think I would suggest re-meeting with Commissioner Knudsen and checking in with her before we get a firm timeline.
Okay, we just met last week, so. That's
okay.
why, yeah,
Okay.
I think that
So,
was what
okay.
we wanted to bring to this council.
Got it.
Was, is it okay with the council to go ahead and go out with solicitation? And we did speak quite a bit about the policy.
Okay,
and
good.
like, is this the direction that we would like to take? Is this something that would be beneficial to the community? And we discussed in pretty great lengths about that, and I believe we were in agreement that yes, we did think that this is a project that would benefit the community, that it's visible to many areas, not just specific neighborhoods. We have a list of the boxes that are in, kind of all over. And I think our fear was that if we waited until September to get approval for that, then then we're getting into the winter time before they could be addressed. And I don't think that we wanted that. But if you're recommending that we wait until September before we go out to solicit artists, I think we could always solicit, and if we need to pause or something, we could do it at that time. But we're losing several months of time if we don't go out for solicitation.
Thank you. I didn't understand that. So in view of that, I withdraw that request. So I think the committee knows what they're doing, and we need to move forward then.
Yeah, I think our next action item is to create a draft that can be reviewed and then move forward, select a couple of artists to be on the committee to select candidates. And just keep the process going, get it done by August.
So
And,
do we need a motion
Yeah.
then for this? We're already moving on this. It's September that we actually have the finalization then. Is that correct?
I believe we wanted to get the solicitation out, and then we could decide how we wanted to select the artist and then bring that back to the commission.
Okay.
Yep.
So no further need yet, or you need the commission's approval?
Do we need the commission's approval to go out for solicitation?
I don't believe so. I believe that was under the umbrella of the ad hocs within their scope.
Great. Thank you for your work there.
Well, and then as far as defining the budget, has that been settled?
Well, the budget, that will be in my comments later. Budget is in process, very close to being approved, but this project, I believe, will be a carry forward from funds last year, not expended within the purview that we have, that we could use it for this purpose. So
good.
that's the intent. I'm just waiting for a confirmation.
Okay.
Thank you. Moving along, public art policy update. Commissioner Kershner, Knudsen, and I have been meeting pretty regularly and have looked at other cities' public art policies as was directed by Director Gates or suggested by her. We have been working pretty hard on making it simple but also making sure the definitions are pretty clear. And in addition, we have walked part of the city and are looking at different areas as we are doing a map of the possible public art locations that we could do. Because Commissioner Knudsen has a lot of experience in Napa with their public art map and also their temporary plinths or bases that they've created over there. She's using that information to kind of guide us, which is really getting pretty exciting. So she's gone right now, but as soon as she gets back, we're trying to do a once-a-week walk and do basic maps. We've already done from Highway 12 on the bike path to Depot Park and found 3 really interesting locations along that route for temporary art placement. And then we'll be looking pretty much around the 2-mile section of the city to try to get some mapping done. We are doing that in addition to all of the policy work that we've been doing pretty much online and looking at a lot of different comparable communities. So it's getting exciting. The Creative Sonoma, the new Creative Sonoma executive director has been extremely helpful. She was the former public art director for Santa Rosa and helped do their public art policy. So she was really helpful, and their public art policy was as well. We're moving right along. By September, we should have it, and I think this general plan should really help. We could maybe help get art more highly regarded in that general plan, would be important. The next is a chamber of rotating art exhibits, and we have a new exhibit up. And I think that, is there anything that you want to add, Sarah, with
Sure.
thinking about the future?
Yeah, so we're just over a year of this program, which means the ad hoc will need to dissolve. As part of that, is a envisioning of how the program continues in the future. And as part of budget discussions, one of the opportunities that arose as staff was working on that budget was working with the Sonoma Community Center to expand their contract to include a number of activities and projects on behalf of the city, and one of them that is under consideration is the management of the chamber rotating art exhibit. So the commission this would all be worked out once the budget is formalized and their contract is negotiated, so that there's a little time before this would be determined. But the commission would still be involved in kind of the calendaring and direction on maybe what the program looks like itself. But they would be help solicit artists to get artworks for the event. They do the installation and de-installation, help with any receptions and all of that. I mean, they do exhibits regularly. They have, the people, as you all know, you can get a degree in installation of art exhibits. I do not have one of those. I think we've done a lovely job, but to take it to the next level, to have an organization, we have so many wonderful organizations in this town with so much more experience that it seemed like a good opportunity to pursue. So that is the vision now. The ad hoc will likely stay active to see where this goes, develop that program, and then it would just continue in perpetuity.
Yes.
Could you tell us about the rotation currently and how long it will stay?
Yes, so as you can see, these are all lovely photographs. These were all entries of this year's Earth Day photo contest, which was, this year's theme was a celebration of trees. So a lot of different interpretations of that, as you can see. We had more submissions this year than we've ever had before, which was really wonderful. We also, they're all noted there, and we were able to print them out in-house. We learned that our Public Works Department has been holding out on us with a printer. Just kidding, Public Works, thank you very much. And Connie herself helped with, designed the exhibit, and I think literally cut and mounted everything. So thank you so
As
much,
well
Connie,
as
for that. I kept her company.
Yes.
And it will be up until the Vintage Festival posters, which is, those are due in, I believe, in September. So this will be up through.
So the reception for this is probably what we ought to talk about to finalize this agenda item. Do you have thoughts?
Yes, so it's been a busy May madness is what everybody's been calling it. May madness and June, the June craziness. I think we're almost through that. So I would, if you all had a specific date and time, I will certainly also send this out via email. But if anybody had any particular dates they'd be interested in trying to have a reception to welcome any of the artists who submitted work, and also anybody else from the public to be able to see it outside of a regular meeting. That is what we're talking about today.
Maybe we ought to look up months, because it's going to be up for 2 more months, so that's pretty open. And best days of the week.
That will be the trick. I think we may, I also understand that this building, a new entity will be also holding their meetings in chambers moving forward. So the actual schedule of the chambers may be different than I have access to tonight. So I may take kind of a general feel for a month or a particular week within a month, and then I can get out and give you more detail about that.
I was thinking maybe late August. People are starting to become back from vacations. And I don't know, I think we were a little disappointed with the number of students in this show, if there were any. And I think that as we look at doing this, which it's starting to be a tradition, I don't think you expected it to. It happened during the pandemic as something really fun to do, and now it's become so popular, and so it would be great to have more kids photography in as well. So it'd be nice to do more outreach, but seems to me like late August might be the best. And maybe you could, Sarah, just send us some dates that might be open, rather than us trying to stab at something that would work.
Does the city council meet every Monday?
City Council generally meets the first and third Wednesdays.
Oh, Wednesdays. Okay, sorry. So we know that the market goes on Tuesday, so that's probably out. So, what did you say? The second and third? Wait.
So it really does depend. So we have a number of commissions and then a number of other boards and committees that use this building, or the dais. Now that doesn't necessarily mean we can't have a reception so long as it ends before a meeting. We have done that before. I do believe, Monique, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Fridays generally there are no meetings on Fridays.
That's correct.
And I believe that's when we had our reception was a Friday. Was that maybe correct too?
You are correct.
Okay.
And if I am peeking at the calendar for the chambers, and the last 2 Fridays are open for August at this point in time.
So that would be the 23rd or the 30th?
Is Labor Day weekend, so that could be an issue.
So maybe we could tentatively look at the 23rd, and if there are, we'll just put that on our calendars as a placeholder. I think that'd be great. Is that okay with everyone? Okay.
Would Thursday, the 22nd, also be a possibility?
It is open.
Great. Okay, so one of those 2 days perhaps. Thank you. Wonderful. Other thoughts along the Chamber Rotating Art exhibit? Comments? How do you all feel about the handoff of the community center handling it?
The winner is behind me right here. Yes, in the frame. I will say, side note, it was very interesting practice, as this has always been an online contest, and it is a online, also the community votes. It's it's an online process, and how photos appear online versus when they're printed out. I do find that very interesting. I've had a lot of folks who have come in and saw them and had one that was their absolute favorite, and then when they come and see them in person and they don't even see that one, they're like, where even is it? And they notice other ones more. So it's been just interesting from a perception. So when we have our reception, it'll be interesting to see how they are received. And the winner was recognized at the Tuesday Farmers Market on the opening night and received a annual Regional Parks Pass. And yeah, I know. And a framed copy of their artwork.
Thank you. So commissioners' reports and comments. Anyone have any reports? Something new, something interesting?
Comment-wise, regarding the little handout for the 4th of July, rough number, 200, 100, 300, 500, I don't know. How, when you say lots and lots of kids, like that can be a...
Not to scare you, but we were just doing a little exercise, as the city does, because this is the largest event that the city hosts. And so we do a lot of envisioning and emergency planning and preparations for this. So we usually anticipate about 20 to 30,000 people coming to the city of Sonoma for the 4th of July. I don't know if they're all here specifically for the parade, but it's a lot of people. We almost triple our...
Yeah, it's quite a spectacle.
So it's a lot, but they're not all sitting in the front. So.
I know every year get bags about this big of bags full of candy, probably 6 or 8 bags, and they're usually gone before we get to the third turn.
Okay, good to know. Good to know.
Maybe 1,000?
Yeah, I think because a lot of the...
But we could get a bulk rate.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of the minimums, like if you hit 1,000, you can get a price break, and that sounds like a good round number. So
Right.
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah.
And second follow-up question: can I just buy them? Like, we don't need it. Do I need to go through? Like, I'm down to just donate them. Do we need to find funding or anything? Is that okay for? Just don't know.
We are happy to accept donations.
Okay, fantastic. All right, cool.
Wow, that'd be pretty wonderful.
Yeah. I'll see if I can call in some favors and get it done.
Other reports? Thoughts?
Did we have anyone online?
We don't receive. We don't take online comments any longer.
So thank you, commissioners, most of you, for coming to the presentation of the Student Art Creative Artist Award the other night. Noah was very honored and really enjoyed it, and Scott was taking pictures. Thank you for those pictures as well. And I think I pitched him the idea of becoming a commissioner again for about the 10th time. So, but I think he's a very busy young man too, so I don't know. But it's pretty wonderful to have a student Commissioner, and I'm hopeful we'll get one. It would be wonderful if he would, because he's been through that process, so we would inform us in that. I also wanted to ask about the Vintage House poster and how that's going along and what's happening there.
So the Vintage Festival poster contest is now receiving nominations. Last year it was a very short nomination period, and we still received a good number of them. This year we are giving ample time, almost 3 months, I believe. So those are not due until, I'm going to say, mid-August. I'm blanking a little bit on the timing there, but in time for the ad hoc committee to review them I believe it's in August, that we're also asking for you to review them at that point before they go on to, your recommendations go on to the Vintners and Growers Alliance, who make the final determination in time for September and then their event.
So that will be the same ad hoc committee as last year for that?
So I believe we set a new ad hoc committee. Yeah, it's a process we do every year, kind of like the treasure artist reception ad hoc committee. We haven't vote a new one in every year, or at least this is the second year. So for the second year, we've done it.
I must have missed that meeting. Who's on it?
I think it's Commissioner Momsen, Knudsen, and myself. And I didn't ask you to report in for the public art policy. Would you like to, did you want to say anything further about it?
No, I think you covered everything. I think that for those on the commission and in the community that aren't following along on what we're doing, I think the biggest pieces that we're addressing is funding, like accessibility and equity, transparency, and temporary art. So, and I think if anyone else has questions or comments or input from that on the commission, to let us know. It's a big deal, I think, so.
Once the commission sees it, then we'll be doing outreach to the community for input as well. So we'll be wanting many people to talk about it. Thank you. So city 7.0, city staff comments and announcements.
Not too many. We're all just rolling right along. I mentioned the budget process. If those of you who are following along, it is going to council next Wednesday at their meeting. We run the fiscal calendar, so we usually like to have a budget in place before the fiscal calendar ends. If you are curious, you can tune in on that day. There was a budget session, study session as well, which is the recording of it is available on the city's YouTube channel if you are interested in some interesting conversation about this year's budget and what is going on. But other than that, there's been a lot of activity. As you know, this is event season for Sonoma. So as the appreciators of art that you are, I'm sure you're aware that Transcendence is going to be holding their first series of performances at the end of the month in just outside these doors in Fazio Fields. That'll be exciting that that they have come into city limits as they have been out at Jack London State Park for a number of years. So along with all the number of amazing things going on, if those of you who are coming down for the Bear Flag celebration on Saturday, for example, that's also a chicken barbecue for Flag Day is coming up. It happens every year where they reenact the Bear Flag raising, which happened at the Sonoma Plaza, and they follow it with a chicken barbecue to raise some money, and it's a real fun event, so if you haven't been. But other than that, you should have to check in on the city's website. On the calendar, we do post all of the events that are happening in the plaza and Depot Park. So anybody who is looking for those activities, they can find them there. I also just wanted to mention too, there was the discussion about the general plan and various meetings that are coming up and opportunities that you can sign up, just like a number of specific topics that the city has that people have particular interest in. You can sign up to receive updates specifically for the general plan. So anytime those task force meetings are put on the calendar, or an opportunity if another survey comes out, or I'm not part of the overall process, so I don't want to promise that. But there will be, you'll get automatic emails about that. So if you go to the website that Jennifer mentioned, you'll be able to get directed. The city also, of course, our main website has ways to get to the general plan webpage. But that would be my recommendation to you as well, because it seemed like there was lots of interest. So more participation, the better. And I think that's it for me.
Okay, I think we're adjourned.